Micheal Saylor's interview on 100x Bitcoin. Please like and subscribe.
You've said that if you want to 10x your money, buy Bitcoin. If you want to 100x your money, buy Bitcoin with someone else's money. And if you want to 1000x your money, then buy Bitcoin with someone else's money and lever it. But for the average person watching who's probably a wage earner and not a business leader, what do you think is the best way to 100x your money? Can you still do it with Bitcoin, and what types of strategies can be deployed?
I think the best way to get superior returns, 100x type returns, if you're an individual, would be you keep your day job, and so you maximize the cash flow you generate via whatever your profession is. That Ferrari that you're going to buy is going to cost you like 6 Bitcoin, and so it's going to be $100 million Ferrari, right? If you look out 20 years. So you have to keep your job. Unless you're insanely rich, don't splurge on the Ferrari. Buy the 6 Bitcoin instead. And with regard to leverage, the intelligent leverage for the individual is generally long-dated, mid-dated mortgage debt. So if I have any kind of property, if I have a house, I would put a long mortgage on it, a 10-year mortgage, a 15 to 20-year mortgage on it, especially a conforming loan, and then I would roll it into Bitcoin. Because mortgage debt is not mark to market. It's against an asset which is fairly stable. The promise of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin standard is that every company can be well capitalized. Because if you simply start sweeping your cash flows into Bitcoin, or you convert your dividend into a Bitcoin buy, or if you convert your buyback of stock into a buyback of Bitcoin, then your enterprise value over time would double. And your organization would be valued partially on future expectations, but partially on the assets you own. And so you can imagine when 95% of the value is future expectations. When they become uncertain, 95% of the value becomes uncertain. But when half the value of a company is based upon the assets they own, right, then they have a built-in insurance policy or a shock absorber, and they have the luxury of being able to sit back and see how things work out, but without being desperate or taking. Every single crisis recruits a new class of Bitcoin believers. There's just a delay in between the crisis and the Bitcoin rally. So, for example, in March, Bitcoin crashed with everything else down to like 4,000 or 4,500. And I started buying it in the 9,000s or the 10,000s. And I remember when Bitcoin was 10,000 and the NASDAQ was like 12,000. And, then Bitcoin would rally up and rage, and then there would be a crypto crash and it came down. And on the other hand, here we are today, and Bitcoin's like 96 or 97,000, the NASDAQ 17,000. And now we're in a big tariff crisis, and the near-term reaction is always the market cramps and everybody sells everything. But the long-term reaction is, if I had all my money invested in Bitcoin instead of invested in that company, I wouldn't have been affected by tariffs. And Bitcoin doesn't have supply chains. It doesn't have all of the regulatory risks, the tax risk, the operating and the execution risk that you have when you have a business based upon providing products and services in a particular way.
You've said that if you want to 10x your money, buy Bitcoin. If you want to 100x your money, buy Bitcoin with someone else's money. And if you want to 1000x your money, then buy Bitcoin with someone else's money and lever it.
It's an exponential process. When I was at MIT, I studied complex exponential systems. And they started with an illustration where they say, well, you have a pond and there are lily pads in the pond, and it takes 30 days for the lily pads to spread across the pond, but they're doubling every day. On what day of the month will you notice you have any lily pads? It's a quick test of exponential math, but you realize the first 3 weeks of the month, you don't see any lily pads in the pond, right? And then you notice a little bit. And then in 3 days of the month, everything happens. And so I think what's happening here is there's a exponential phenomenon. The secret of Bitcoin, and and the simple, elegant truth, and the reason that it's spreading virally everywhere on earth, and the reason it'll keep spreading. So a lot of smart people in the world, they just want to keep their money. That's the secret, right? People buy Bitcoin because they want to keep their money. People are starting to buy Bitcoin treasury companies like Strategy because we've constructed a very elegant, powerful business model based upon digital capital that strips away all of the dozen risks that are plaguing every other well-run company in the world right now. And so investors are smart. They think, well, how do I get a return and avoid the risk, and what's working? And, more and more are discovering our company every day.
You've pioneered the corporate playbook and you're giving it away. I know so many people are grateful. Any final thoughts?
Just happy to be on the journey with you.
For 24/7 Bitcoin charts and graphs, join our channel BTC Live Charts. Please like and subscribe.